All right, let's get right into it. We are going to break down one of the most critical pieces of safety equipment you'll ever use, the personal fall arrest system. And this isn't just about checking a box for compliance. It's really about understanding the gear that stands between you and a life-changing injury.
So let me ask you something straight up. Are you or is anyone on your crew going to be working above 6 feet today? Because in construction, that's the magic number where OSHA says you need fall protection. So yeah, the stuff we're about to cover, it applies directly to you.
And look, let's be real, the stakes just couldn't be any higher. Falls to a lower level are consistently one of the top causes of death on the job. The whole point of the next few minutes is to arm you with the knowledge to make sure you never, ever become one of those statistics. Okay, so first things first, let's get on the same page with a clear official definition. We're not just making this up. This comes straight from the OSHA standards that govern workplace safety. Now, you really got to pay attention to the words here. A personal fall arrest system, or PFAS, doesn't actually prevent you from falling. That's the job of things like guardrails or safety nets. A PFAS is designed for one single life or death moment, to safely arrest or stop your fall once it's already happening. You know, a good way to think about it is this. Your number one goal is always to prevent a fall from ever happening. But if all those other measures fail, your PFAS is the absolute last line of defense. It's basically the seatbelt and airbag of working at height. Now, to make this stuff easy to remember on the job, safety pros came up with a really simple tool, the ABCDs. If you can master these 4 parts, you'll know what a complete and, more importantly, an effective fall arrest system looks like.
First up, A is for Anchorage. This is the bedrock of the entire system. And it's not just any old pipe or beam you can tie off to. It has to be a certified anchor point that can support a minimum of 5,000 pounds for every single worker attached to it. If your anchor fails, absolutely nothing else matters.
Next, we've got B for body support, and that means your full body harness. Its whole job is to take the incredible shock from a fall being arrested and spread those forces out across the strongest parts of your body, like your pelvis, thighs, and chest. It's designed to stop you without causing a secondary fatal injury. So what's the crucial link between your harness and your anchor? That's C for connector. This could be a shock-absorbing lanyard that actually tears open to slow you down, or it could be a self-retracting lifeline, an SRL, that works like a seatbelt and locks up almost instantly. And finally, D. And folks, this is the one that gets tragically forgotten all the time. Descent and rescue. Just because the fall has been arrested doesn't mean the emergency is over. OSHA actually requires you to have a plan to get a suspended worker down, and fast. Hanging there can cause a deadly condition called suspension trauma in just minutes. Okay, so we've got the theory down. We know the ABCDs. But what does this actually look like in the real world? Let's walk through a scenario that could happen any day on any job site. Just picture this for a second. A roofer working 20 feet up loses their footing right near the edge. In fraction of a second, the C, the SRL, senses that sudden speed and bam, it locks. The A, the anchor, holds solid against that incredible force. And the B, the harness, spreads that jolt across the worker's body. The fall is stopped just a couple feet below the roofline. A life is saved right there. But for that story to have a happy ending, there's one piece of math that absolutely had to be done before the work ever started. It's called fall clearance, and it's how you figure out if your system even has enough room to do its job. It's actually a pretty straightforward 3-step process. First, you measure your potential fall distance, from where you're standing to the next level down. Second, you have to add the arresting distance of your gear. That's how far your lanyard will stretch out, or your SRL will travel, plus any harness stretch. Third, you add a mandatory safety factor. That total number is the absolute minimum clear space you need below you. And that required safety factor, which is often at least 2 feet, is your non-negotiable buffer zone. It's there to account for all the little variables, like exactly how your harness stretches. It is the critical space that separates a safe stop from a catastrophic impact. Let me be crystal clear here. This isn't a suggestion. If the distance from you to the ground or the nearest obstruction is less than your total fall clearance calculation, you will hit it. It doesn't matter how new or expensive your gear is. Without enough space, it's completely useless. Knowing how the system should work is only half the battle. Now we have to talk about how these systems fail out in the real world, usually because of some very common and very fatal mistakes. What you're looking at here is a system failure in real time. You can see that anchor point is literally bending and pulling right out of the concrete. This is a perfect example of a weak A, an anchor that was either not rated for the job or was installed completely wrong.
And here, well, here's what happens when that anchor gives out completely. That bolt has been ripped clean out of the concrete. This just goes to show you the unbelievable forces at play during a fall, and it's exactly why your anchor point has to be selected and installed by a qualified person. No exceptions.
So let's turn these failures into a simple checklist of things you absolutely must not do. First, never ever skip your daily gear inspection. Second, if your gear is frayed, damaged, or worn, don't use it, period. Third, as we just covered, never forget to calculate your fall clearance. And fourth, never start work at height without a rescue plan ready to go.
Okay, let's wrap all of this up into a simple, repeatable safety checklist. This is what you ought to be doing every single time you gear up to work at height.
It's just 4 steps. That's it. First, inspect your B and C, your harness and your connector. Second, verify your A, your anchor point. Third, do the math and calculate your fall clearance. And fourth, confirm your D. Make sure that rescue plan is ready and everybody knows their role. The full ABCDs every single time.
I really want to leave you with this idea. Putting on a harness is not just another box you check off in the morning. Using a fall arrest system is an active process. It requires inspection, it requires calculation, and it requires planning. It's about shifting your mindset from just wearing the gear to making sure you can actually survive the event it was designed for.
If you found this explainer valuable, please subscribe for more breakdowns of complex safety topics that deliver practical, life-saving knowledge. Stay safe out there.